We've been talking about it, fools. This is the Janchi Show. I'm KJ. There's Nathan. There's Patrick. We in it.
Heyo. Yeah, it's
man.
been recording for the last 2 minutes and 41 seconds, 42 seconds, 43
okay,
seconds.
well, I'll record. Or do you not want me to record?
You're listening to the Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean-American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean, American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Janchi Show. This is one of your co-hosts, KJ. With me, I've got Nathan Nowak and Patrick Armstrong.
Armstrong.
That's how you pronounce his name, right?
Armstrong.
Armstrong.
Great.
We are back with a guest, and we've got food. It is a regular old Janchi Show.
We're back.
I'm
Back
super
to our
excited
normal
about it.
schedule.
Yeah, TBH, I kind of forgot how to interview people, so that was fun. Finding that out during the interview, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do here? That was...
Yeah, we had a lot of little pauses there that I felt like we hadn't had for a while.
You,
Maybe it'll be cut
dear
out.
listener, you'll never hear it, but for us, I was just like, what do I do?
Well, there was a couple moments where I was waiting for you guys to ask a question too, and I didn't want to make sure that I wasn't just,
Nathan, take charge.
Talking.
Take charge. I
don't want to be a mic hog.
We all have our own mics, baby.
Exactly.
Podcast hog.
Podcast hog.
Man. I don't know. Is
I'll
that
just
a thing?
mute you. Anyways, so before we get into the interview, we just we're talking about ancestry tests, DNA tests. That's what it's called. You're not testing who your ancestors are. It's DNA tests. So Nathan, you've taken one.
Yeah.
Patrick, you were recently gifted one. Shouts out to your wife-to-be, Emily. Happy Christmas. And I have thought about it once and haven't really thought about it since then. So
what's your hesitation? The cost or
no,
just the time involved? Or you don't like spitting in the tubes?
I mean, part of...
Because that part was pretty easy, let me just say.
Okay, perfect.
They said, we're going to give you a big spinal tap to do this. Then I might have been a little more hesitant, but
I think the thing that's always made me like it. I guess it's kind of felt like cheating, which I know is dumb, but it's felt like cheating trying to find my family, because that's the thing with I feel like the ads for an Ancestry.com is you're like, oh yeah, you'll like hear your origin story and figure out how, whether it was your people came to America or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And I actually heard this on another podcast I was listening to, but like for Black people and also for transnationally adopted people, you're like, well, that's a load of crap. Like,
right.
There is no history for us, like, because we were forcibly removed from our history. So it felt like cheating, because I was like, maybe my parents or my family has done it, and then I can waiting. That way. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like
you have to agree to that side of it. You can keep it closed.
So I know nothing about it just because I haven't done the research. But so it's been that. It's been the cost. It's been if I was gonna find someone, then it felt like a Hail Mary, and I didn't want to give myself that kind of hope necessarily. I don't know. I mean, like, now it would be fun, but also, like, what if it came back that I was, 80% Chinese and only 20% Korean?
That's legit.
Get more dim sum.
Oh no! Then, like, all of this work, I've been trying to be the wrong race for 27 years, and like, so that would be terrifying. I mean, I don't know why that would be the case, but still,
100% get that. That's one of the things that's always made me hesitant. I'm like, what if it comes back that I'm not even Korean? And I've just been saying that for a long time. Even if I didn't really believe it myself.
What if your last name really is Armstrong?
Like, it's just like, there's so many questions, I think. I never felt of it as, like, cheating, per se. I went through a phase where I wanted to know, and then I didn't want to know at all. I had convinced myself that I was fine with what my life at that point, and that I would never need to know to have any of this closure or anything like that. And then that all has changed now in the last year or so. So I'm excited to know, but I still am like, man, if this comes back and it's like, you're Japanese, I'm going to be, I don't know what I feel. I don't know what to feel about it.
I didn't mind it. I mean, so mine came back and it says I'm 10% Japanese and 90% Korean. That's fine. I don't feel that's a negative. My wife actually thought that was
Patrick to take off the sweatshirt he's wearing.
Exactly. I'm not less Korean per se,
but for the listeners at home, he's wearing a Chosun sweatshirt. It's a black hoodie.
Rebrand.
It's got the Korean flag, the Taeguk on it, and it's baller.
Joseon.com.
We love them. Joseon at the Joseon on Instagram. We love you. Come on the show.
You should save that for our ad space.
Hope.
This is our ad space.
Yeah. Back to the show.
Anyways, what were you all right.
And we're back.
Keep going, Mitch.
And we're back. I'm 2% Neanderthal. So
aren't we all a little bit Neanderthal though?
Exactly. That's what I thought. But I didn't even know why that was even on there. It's an interesting thing. So you said you don't want it to be like cheating. I think of it more or less like Cliff Notes.
I feel sure.
I don't feel like it's, even if it's 100% accurate, take it with a grain of salt. I mean, it could be accurate. It could not be accurate. Like you said, it's always changing too. Like I get notifications from 23andMe that it's like, oh, we've updated your list of these things and these traits and or potential allergies to medicines, or telling me that I'm lactose intolerant. You know what? There's another test for knowing if I'm lactose intolerant. So
it's called drinking milk and throwing up or not.
Exactly. I don't need this test to tell me that, but I'm
real
not.
intense.
It's just an interesting thing. I don't really mind the test. I didn't think it was going to show me anything that I didn't already know. But and I wasn't very, even though technically a lot more people are doing it than they did when I took it. There is a chance you could potentially find relatives, I guess, on there. But I didn't think I was going to, and so.
Yeah, no, I feel like I should clarify. When I say cheating, I mean like BTS getting out of their military service. You know,
change the law for us
by an extra 2 years. You know what I mean? There is a thing that all adoptees, if they choose to go through it, kind of have to go through. And like in the 1 in a million, 1 in a trillion chance that I found my family through like an Ancestry.com or a 23andMe or something, then I feel like, well, what about all of that? Like there's not a Dan Matthews documentary about somebody just taking an ancestry test and then, you know, like finding a birth parents. Like part of it, I feel like, is that journey and that time and like kind of all of that emotional struggle. So then like if I was to roll up to a Korean gathering when we have those, an adoptee gathering, and be like, yeah, I found my parents on Ancestry.com. Like, I don't know. Like I just feel like I would, and maybe that's my own gatekeeping, because I apparently am doing that a lot to myself, of like being adopted enough or not adopted enough. But yeah, so that's what I mean by cheating, and not just like, yeah, I mean, I doubt that any of the information will be earth shattering unless I find out that I'm 80%, you know, Colombian.
Yeah. There are some people that I've heard who have learned some earth shattering information on there. There was a story, I think, that 2 people found out that they were twins through I've heard some stories about
23andMe
or something, where, you know, that was something that they connected because of that. That would be you know, a kind of a good earth shattering outcome. I think the negatives, jokingly, and this didn't happen, but it would, one of my fears, I guess, is when I did it, my wife is half Japanese, half Chinese, so it wasn't that big of a fear, but I always have a fear of doing one of those tests, because we bought the 2-pack, so both my wife and I did it at the same time.
Oh, gotcha.
I always worry that what if somebody did that and found out that their wife was a sibling or something like that, like, you know, or you were related to your spouse. That would be crazy. And that would be, you know, that'd be Korean drama material. But so that would probably be my only fear, I guess, with going through with it. But I know all the other little things that it gave as far as information, I wasn't really too concerned with. But why? What are you hesitant on, Patrick? Since you have it and you're going to be doing it, is there excitement, hesitation, both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think I am excited to do it. I mean, whenever I get a new thing, I am impatient to open it. I don't like any box to go unsealed. Unsealed, not unsealed. I want it unsealed.
No
baby.
boxes gets left behind.
No boxes
or forgotten.
Are unopened.
Ohana.
So, yeah, I'm excited to do it. I'm nervous about the result for any and all reasons that we've already discussed here, but mostly because once I have those, and whatever it is, whether it be earth-shattering or mundane, what is that? I think I'm most nervous about how does that change my either perception or the narrative that I'm on and writing currently. What I'm not worried about it, but that's it's I've already been doing stuff and haven't going through these changes, especially this past 2 months. But this is another big piece of a puzzle potentially. So
the anticipation, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, for sure. And waiting on those results. So I'm going to be like, why didn't this same day rapid test?
Sure.
Come on.
Sure. Yeah, I don't remember how long it took me to get mine back, but I do remember being anxious to see those and read what the results were. But and I like the fact that I get new results even with the same test that I did. I keep getting like updates and things. So it's like a software update where I get extra free features.
Solid.
Software update.
Yeah. Of my life, which is one big software. I don't know. Are we in the Matrix?
I think so.
Sorry. I was just going to say, hit us up on social media, join us on the after party, and leave us your thoughts with Ancestry /23andme /general DNA tests. We'll start a comment thread. You can see it. It should have been posted by the time you heard this. So
I want to see if anyone else has done it
in our Facebook group.
Found.
And absolutely. Yeah. So we've got a really fantastic interview with Tom Bugansky, and I am not mispronouncing his name. So unlike
we clear that up.
I cleared it up.
Armstrong.
I met Tom, like I said, a long time ago, and we had a connection, and I'm really happy that he came onto the show. He just got married this year, and it was a really good interview. So
it's really great. Is my contribution to the interview.
Yeah, did you? I don't even know if you talked. Did you talk?
Yeah, I asked a few questions. I was present.
Well, I guess we're going to find out right now. Let's roll the tape.
Did you even talk?
All right.
Are you even here?
Stop. Recording, yeah?
We are here with Tom Bugansky. Is that? I'm not sure. I've been pronouncing your last name correctly. Bugansky.
You did. You said it correctly.
Okay.
Good job, Nathan.
Bugansky. Tom.
I love that you're checking on air and you're like, we're going to talk about this beforehand, but I wanted to just let everybody know I'm unconfident about his name pronunciation.
You never know. I mean, come on, look at all of our names except for Patrick. It's like one of those things that you just got to sometimes make sure.
They're all so Korean.
Yeah, exactly. We have such Korean last names.
Except for
Especially
me.
when someone tries to pronounce mine Korean, they go, no waka. What?
Wow.
So, Tom, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
We start most of our shows with a little background about yourself because we want to know a little about you as well as our listeners. So if you want to start with just a little backstory about yourself and your adoption.
My adoption was I was born in Seoul, adopted at 2. My father was Polish. My mom's Irish. I grew up in Oregon, Aloha, Oregon. Small little town, I feel like. I had a biological sister and brother, my parents. I was the youngest, so my sister was probably I want to say 3 years older than me. And then my brother was 1 year older than me. So they had my sister, had my brother, and then they adopted me. And everything was great. It was predominantly white up in Oregon where I grew up. I knew of probably 1 to 2 other Korean adoptees in my high school, but never really talked to them because I think I probably thought I was white myself.
Yeah, like us all.
We get that.
There were seems to be the trend that we've been hearing.
Yeah, growing up, no Korean restaurants, no Korean stores, no Korean food. So
what was your first interaction with something Korean then?
I would have to say it was KoreaTown was probably my first wow, I'm really engulfed in Korean lifestyle here in K-Town, Los Angeles. And people say that this is the largest Korean community in the US.
Yeah. When did you move out to KoreaTown?
I moved to KoreaTown. I moved down from Oregon March 2000. And so I lived in North Hollywood for about a year and a half. And then I moved to K-Town. And off and on, I think I lived a total, out of the 20 years I lived down here, about 12 to 15 years were in KoreaTown. I love like how there's shops, restaurants, bars are all in walking distance. And you can just walk out your apartment and then bam, there's like 5 Korean barbecues.
Yeah. And a lot of Korean writing. That was the one thing that surprised me about Koreatown, is that it felt like you were in, like, I would say, a little Koreatown. I mean, everything is in Korean.
Yeah. There's people that probably don't speak English here in Koreatown, and they can live their whole life here in Koreatown without having to utilize like English at all.
So what was? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask. You had said you didn't really have much growing up in Oregon, where you grew up at, in way of connection to anything Korean, or anything like that. And your first forays were when you moved. I was wondering, what were some of the factors in your decision to move to Koreatown and California in the first place?
California, the main reason why I moved down here was 9 months of rain in Oregon. The great Northwest, always overcast. Never had to wash a car. It was always wet outside. But you know what? Growing up, I watched Baywatch, Saved by the Bell, Melrose Place, and it just looked so perfect there with the palm trees and sunny all the time. And I was like, I have to move to that place with the beach and the palm trees and the sunshine. So that was the deciding factor to come down here, was the weather.
That makes sense. And then what prompted to go find a place in Koreatown? Was it a yearning to connect, or was it just opportunity?
No, like when I moved down here, I didn't know there was a Koreatown. It wasn't until I befriended people down here, and they took me out sightseeing. They showed me Koreatown, and I was like, "What is this place? This place is awesome!" It's like it was totally like your Xanadu, your utopia, and it just had everything like that you could ever think of.
Nice.
It was a great experience, and it still is a great experience.
What point during after you moved to Koreatown did you start getting more involved in the Korean adoption world? I guess because I know we'll talk here in a second about the things that you've started, but what prompted you to get more involved in that side of it?
You know what it was is I would go out to the different restaurants and places with my friends, and the elderly Koreans, or all the Koreans, but it was mostly the elderly, they would talk to me in Korean because they would, and then I responded with English. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Korean. They're like, are you Korean? And I said, yes, I am. I was born in Seoul. They're like, then you should know Korean. And it was almost like they want to like punish you in a way, say, hey, this is where you come from. You've got to learn this. You're Korean. So act Korean and speak Korean. So I did try taking a Korean class over at the Korean Cultural Center here on Culture. I took a class, but if you don't use it all the time, you definitely lose it.
Have you lost it, or do you use it
oh, no, I lost it a lot. I do want to think that the more I drink, it does come out, but I'm not sure.
That makes sense. Right. You got to unlock it a little bit. You got to unlock.
Yeah, the more alcohol you get, you go from Yogyo to Chogyo.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, get over here. I need more.
But I do have to admit, it was like down here that I was introduced to soju. I didn't know what soju was.
I didn't either till the show.
Yeah, my first time having it was on the podcast.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great experience. And so I went to the grocery store yesterday, and it just, everything's in walking distance, and you just go up and down these aisles, and it's all like Korean food.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when you were talking with those older Korean people who were like, you're Korean, you should be more Korean.
Yeah.
Did that put more pressure on you to like try to adopt that culture, or did that like make you run the other direction? Be like, no, like what was that like? And just in your experience trying to reconcile with being Korean and being raised in America by white parents?
It actually made me want to try to be more Korean. Just because I live in Koreatown. I go to these restaurants. I probably eat there's 3 foods that I eat all the time now, and it's Korean, Chinese, Japanese. And living here in KoreaTown, I probably eat more Korean food out of my 7 days. Probably like 4 days out of the week is all Korean takeout.
Definitely, I didn't ever have Korean barbecue until I came to California. So definitely is you get immersed into more of the culinary aspects of Korean culture for sure.
Oh yeah. I didn't have Korean barbecue either until I came here. And this is amazing. And so you just keep on finding, and there's a way you don't have to go to the same place twice here in Koreatown because there's so many Korean barbecue places.
That's awesome.
I definitely say for anyone who doesn't live in a big city, who lives outskirts or somewhere that doesn't have one in the Midwest or something that's listening, if you ever go to a big city, look for one, try it out. Yeah,
you ever get out of your small towns and you hit the big city, check out the Korean barbecues.
If you make it through the lockdowns and you finally get to travel, then
it's a must.
Tom, what other ways, since you said you've been in Koreatown for 12 years, is that right?
About 12 to 15 years.
Obviously you've hit all of the food or a lot of the food spots. What other ways have you connected or engaged with the Korean culture since being there? Like things that you've really enjoyed or taken to?
I definitely did those groups, those Korean adoptee groups here in LA. I was doing that for a while when I had time, and those were fun. We'd all go and have dinner once a month. It would be set up by, I think, Tay. And then afterwards would be karaoke with drinking, and it was always fun to get with them and catch up. And he would try to set it up once a month. If he could make it, great. If he couldn't, I'll try for the next one.
Nice,
and that was always fun.
There's a lot of those events up there. I saw a lot of cat events.
Yeah.
So I've came into this journey of in discovering adoptee groups very recently and post lockdown. So I've been unable to go to something like a dinner or something and engage in the group. I'm wondering, can you just talk a little bit about what that was like from your perspective? Just going to those dinners and the conversations that you guys had in those groups.
Yeah, because I would have no idea where to start.
Yeah, I have no idea. Kind of do you just share adoptee stories or what do you guys do in those things? Besides sing?
No, we rarely ever, I think, talk about our adoptee stories. We'd all be sitting around the dinner table, and sometimes our group got so big that we had to have several tables. It could be around, anywhere from 5 to 20 people on up, and you kind of just get to do a meet and greet, or even catch up with the people that you've seen before. But no one really tells their story during that time. That's kind of a time of everyone just kind of to hang out because we all have something in common, and it's something that we all can relate to. But we never really talk about our story unless it was some kind of group session or something.
That's good. Probably makes it less pressure for anyone who thinks that they might have to talk about it in that kind of a setting. That you're just your ordinary Korean Americans having dinner, drinking.
Yes.
So, yeah. And I know one of the things that you started during that time or shortly after you started going out with groups was the soul searching organization that it was. I don't know how far you got into it. I just know that you were doing bracelets, which is one of the ways we met. But tell us a little about that organization that you started.
So that organization was started in 2011 because I went to Korea in 2010. And that was, I forget what group it was, but it was all expense paid trip by the Korean government. They paid for your plane ticket. They gave you the room and board, and you got to go on these tour buses and travel for about, I want to say 10 days or 2 weeks. And so I submitted my application, got picked. It was about, I want to say 90 of us from 8 or 9 different countries. And so you flew there, and I was still mesmerized that I was actually in Korea in 2010. And you go and you meet these other Korean adoptees, and they're all coming from different parts of the world. You meet the Italians, you meet the Australians, you meet the Europeans from Canada, the other, the US Korean adoptees, and then you have Denmark and Norway, in Sweden. It was just great. If you close your eyes, you would think you're like surrounded by all these different cultures of people. You open your eyes and everyone's Korean. and it was amazing. So they took us on buses. They gave us tours, like sightseeing, took us to different places, malls, and we stayed at the university. We even got taught by a couple of the Korean professors in English on the history of where we came from.
That's cool.
And it was very, very cool, and a great experience. So when I came back, I didn't realize how many Korean adoptees were out there. More or less the ones I even met was very awesome. So that's why I wanted to reconnect with all of them and then more. So I started soulsearching.org as a website. Got with a web developer, bought the domain name, and started doing this thing where I would interview a different Korean adoptee and be adoptee of the month, and kind of put the profile on that. And it was connected to the Facebook page. The Facebook page is still up, but I do not have time to do anything anymore. So it probably lasted about 1 year. So 2011, it opened the doors. And then I think by 2012, it kind of shut down because I just didn't have time. I was getting busier with work.
What?
Yeah, I hear you.
What kind of stories and like, I guess, fond memories do you have from that time of running that and having those interviews? Like any that stick out to you, or what was kind of any recurring themes, I guess, across that you found in those conversations?
I think the thing that pretty much just stuck out, even though we all are adopted and we're all raised outside of like Korea, and we all gain the culture and lifestyle that wherever we live, we're all human, and we have our, likes, dislikes, your favorite music, your favorite TV show, what your dream job would like to be. And so we either adapted to our surrounding very, very well and learned to survive. We're all survivors. And that's the greatest thing. We survived what we grew up to. Whether it was good or bad, we survived it.
Nice. Yeah. I really like that. I like that image of a survivor.
And then, so you got too busy with work, and actually, if you want, go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do currently right now.
Right now, I started I went to school as a surgical tech, and then I started my first job was in KoreaTown, Korean plastic surgery, and Korean plastic surgery is something I never even thought I would be working in, because I thought I'd be working in the hospitals. But around that time, of course, like it's still going strong, Korean dramas and K-pop. And so I even learned like the Sweet 16 gift that the mothers would give their daughters is the second, the westernization of the eyelids.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of that. My whole staff was Korean. So they spoke Korean, and that was another thing. I couldn't speak Korean, and our patients were all Korean. So I couldn't speak to them either. But I learned a lot of experience that. So as I gained more years and years of like working in plastic surgery, that became my niche. So I would run the surgery center part and make sure it was up and running, all the equipment worked out. And then next thing you know, I'm getting phone calls for other places to get their place up and running. So then I think I just got the reputation to either build surgery centers, put them together, run them so that there's a flow to it. And if it has any kinks, I find out what they are and make it work. I just make it happen. So I was there with a build out of a Beverly Hills surgery center where I was the project manager. It used to be a bank, and we gutted it out, and we made it into a 2 OR surgery center in Beverly Hills, right down the street from Rodeo Drive. And that was probably my best project yet. But I finished that one, and then I moved on to another place in Beverly Hills, and I'm working on that place right now, getting that place up and running so that we can get the green light, get the accreditation, and start doing plastic surgery there.
Are those clients over there also Korean, or?
No. I think the clients over there are more diverse in Beverly Hills. But the KoreaTown ones, there's something that's it's very homey here in KoreaTown when you go to like KoreaTown Plastic Surgery Center. So it's cozy.
Interesting.
Is that like the way people interact, or is it like an interior design feeling, or is it just a sense of like you're Korean, I'm in KoreaTown, thus it feels homey?
You know what? It does. It has that hominess because I walk around. I'll walk down the street and grab a coffee, and majority of the people I do see are Korean that are walking around. It is getting more diverse, so you're seeing different cultures do come in. But you just feel like you're in KoreaTown. The signs are in Korean and English, and then people walking their dog is Korean. You see a lot more Koreans in this area, in Korean restaurants, Korean coffee shops, things like that.
I wonder what the population of Koreatown is.
7.
7 people?
7 or 8.
Yeah, just 7 people.
It's got to be pretty large. Every time, like you said, when I'm there, that's almost always the only ethnicity you see is Korean.
Yeah. So it's very nice.
And it's spreading out too, the size of it.
It is. So there's like these parameters of where to live, like in the heart of KoreaTown. There's the heart of KoreaTown, and if you were to live here and want to pick an apartment, there's like certain streets you live within, and you're like in the heart of KoreaTown. Anything else outside of that is like the outskirts of KoreaTown, so you won't get as much variety when it comes to like eateries and places.
Yeah. So then, after you ended the soul searching because you got too busy with work, was there any still interaction with any of the other groups, or anything that you still had time to do that you wanted to do or felt a drive to do?
No, at that point, I think I was so immersed in my work that everything else kind of just fell to the wayside, and it didn't even go on the back burner. It just kind of got off the stove. And so, so I was just so focused because right now I'm working on my other project. Is I'm gonna buy and run my aftercare at the Beverly Hills SLS hotel. So I'm going to start up an aftercare for patients that get surgery done, and they can stay here with 24-hour watch with a nurse. If they need medications, food, things like that, that will all be provided. And then I made, working out the contracts and agreements with the SLS in Beverly Hills hotel.
Yeah,
that's cool. It's a cool program.
Yeah, right on. So we've danced around this a little bit. I'm curious, Tom, how did you and Nathan get connected?
I was going to jump into that same question actually, because I was leading to that with that you got out of doing anything Korean related. However, we met at a Korean American adoptee documentary for Dan Matthews.
Yes.
And so, what got you to go to that and then ultimately meet me?
Yeah,
it's all about Nathan.
Yeah. What made you want to talk to me?
Yeah, remember getting word either, I don't know whether it was through a Facebook announcement or a flyer or other adoptees about Dan Matthews doing a documentary, and the viewing was going to be in like Little Tokyo. Mm-hmm. So saved the day. We went there. I went there solo. Got to meet other Korean adoptees, and lo and behold, I met Nathan. And with his now wife, and it was very, very awesome to like put faces to the names of people that you were talking to, I guess, in the past. But I don't know if we talked prior to that, but it was very cool to meet him then. I think I did read up on Nathan Nowak from a Korean magazine.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
And the Korean American magazine. I had the cover photo for one of the years.
Yeah,
one of the months.
Dang,
you were on the cover,
big time, bro.
No, I wasn't on the cover. My photo was on the cover.
And
so, the photo I took.
You took. I was like, what do you mean? You're a picture of yourself?
That's pretty big time. But that's the other side of the lens, big time.
Yeah,
right?
You know what?
It was a contest. Yeah, it was a contest, and I won the contest to how to represent third generation Korean Americans. And so I had some friends take we had a makeup artist come and paint half their face with a Korean flag and half the face with an American flag.
Nice.
And I took pictures of the kids with those paintings, and that was the cover. But But then we had also at some point met up because of your soulsearching.org thing, because I had taken a couple photos for you as well at that point. So it must have been the Dan Matthews thing, where it's the first official meeting of sorts, where we actually had dinner and things like that afterwards.
Yeah. And it was very cool. And I do have to admit, like, Dan Matthews documentary, that was an awesome documentary. That was the first Korean adoptee documentary I've ever seen.
Yeah, we talked to him a lot about that, and it's been, I think, a lot of people. It's been an inspiration for a lot of people that we know and I've talked to. So
we were stoked to have him on for episode 7. It was just because it was. I mean, that was a thing for Nathan. It was a thing for me. So yeah, it was just like, it was cool to be able to talk to him. But hard hitting question, Tom. Do you think Nathan walks funny?
Like, I don't even look at his walk.
Like, if you had to describe his gait, could you put it into some words for us?
If you could imitate it right now,
would you use your arms?
For our listeners? If you could give us some visual content for our listeners at home, that'd be great.
God, you know what? The sad thing is, he was there to be the photographer at my wedding, so I spent a good amount of time with him. But I think I was so stressed about the wedding that I didn't even think about catching his walk.
Understandable.
Thank you for that. Thank you for not judging me on my photographer's walk.
But he was in it to win it. He's a great photographer. My wife loved it.
That's amazing.
No, it was such a pleasure to be there for and an honor for your wedding. So Tom just got married. It was about 3 months ago. So
nice, congratulations!
Dude, congratulations!
Yeah,
thank you, and we met in plastic surgery at an office. So that was very, very cool.
And so then that documentary was like definitely a groundbreaking for a lot of us. Was there any need after that to see more documentaries or see more Korean adoptee things? Did it like re-spark anything for you?
Yeah, it actually, it made me think about, I don't know if I talked with this about you before, but it made me want to do a family search on myself, which I just recently did. And the reason why I waited so long, part of me said no, because the parents I have now, they're the best, we're not blood, but they're my parents. They're my mom and dad. The other part why I didn't do it was, if I did the search while they're around, I would feel like it would be a disrespect to them, because I don't want them to think that I'm trying to replace them, or you guys aren't doing enough for me that I need to go find out who my biological parents are.
Right.
So I never wanted them to ever feel like that I look like down upon them or anything. But they both passed away. So that kind of like gave me the green light. Well, you know what? Let me see if I can do a family search now, which I did in August. And I finally did get a response about, I want to say about 3 weeks ago from the Holt. I was adopted through Holt in Oregon. And I did all that paperwork fill out and asked like, where did I, who my parents were, pretty much. And she said, well, it takes about a month or so. It could take longer, but we'll try to see if we have enough information on you so that we can do a search on you, which they finally did get back to me. And I would love to share that with you guys. So I always, like, in my mind, that I was born because two, young lovers got together and they were so young that they weren't responsible enough to raise a child. And so that's where adoption comes in. It's like, okay, well, we'll have the child and then we'll give it up for adoption because we're just way too young. We're not even thinking of like what the future holds. But in this case, my birth father, who was 37 years old, a married man, and had his own family, and he stated that he had an affair with the birth mother, who delivered and kept me for 1 year, and she was 31 at the time. So they tried to be together for 1 year, but it didn't work out. So then it was my father that wanted to keep me. And so he asked his then wife, can we keep my son? And she said, no, we need to give him up for adoption, which I can totally understand, because I would be a symbol of his infidelity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the story I was expecting, but that's my story. And it's total Korean drama.
That's true.
What was your initial reaction to receiving this information? What's the first thing that went through your mind?
I think I was taking it all in, and I was just like, wow. Like it honestly was a whoa, because for all these years, you never know. I never knew where I came from or why I was adopted. Mm-hmm. But now seeing this email, it kind of just put everything there. It's like, it's in black and white. It's right there in front of me. These are the facts. And so that's how I came to be and why I was adopted. And so I would definitely want to still pursue to find my father. I guess they don't have that much information on my mother per se, but for my father, I still want to pursue it. But they did give me kind of the, like, wait a minute, there is a good chance that he's not going to want to see you if he's got a family, if he's still alive. He doesn't want to, smear his name in front of the family that he has now.
Right.
Sure. They might not even know.
Yeah. And so I totally understand that. And I said, well, if he does want to meet me, that would be great. I would still want to meet him, but throw it out there and see what happens. So I guess that's where we are now. I'm playing the waiting game.
Yeah. So having that news and being given that new narrative, what, like, I don't know, just as it sits in your brain, how has that changed? Maybe it hasn't, but I guess how you think about your origin story. Does that give you more closure? Does it lead to more questions? How does it really, I guess, interplay with the origin story that your parents would have given you, like having first your biological origin and then also like your adoptive origin from your parents' side of things? How are those all mixing together in your brain?
I do have to say it did give me some closure. So I do have closure now. As for the origin of it and like the way I was raised or anything with the parents, I think everything's still the same. To me, it's a story, and it's a story that didn't really have much impact on my life, because I think I was raised very, very well with the parents I have now, or the ones that raised me, and they did an awesome job. They did. I honestly couldn't ask for better parents. And for the parents that did bring me into this world, they are kind of part of a story, a Korean drama story. Mm-hmm. So, and that's they're actors of a story. I guess that's the way that I don't look at them as my mom and dad. They're just characters in my life.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like when I think about my birth, mother and father, I don't think of them as my mother and father. I think of them as, I would almost say, like even further distant, like a great grandparent or a great grandmother, somebody that I'm related to, but somebody that I didn't know or didn't have a really strong connection with, that I still respect and that I still, want to know more about, but not necessarily, again, have that strong as a connection as you do with your biological or your adoptive parents. So I think that's kind of how I feel about it as well. And maybe everyone's different or not, but to know the information, I think is the first step, and that's great that you have some narrative now to that.
It's been a long time coming. I never even thought I would even go and try to find that information, but I'm glad I did. It took this lockdown to go and get it.
I totally get that.
Like being bored on the couch. I'm watching too many, Netflix Korean dramas to say, hey, you know what? I need to go do a background check now, or a check on my biological.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime. I'm glad to share this story. This is a story that I would love other adoptees to hear. Just in case they were in the same boat. You're not alone. And I guess that was the thing with soulsearching.org when I was trying to push it. It's like, I never want people to feel alone, because we're out there and there's a bunch of us out there.
Well, that's great. Speaking of that, I mean, one of the usually the last questions that we also ask people is on that note, what kinds of things are you either looking to do for either your Korean adoption community, or what are other things that you think others should be doing for their Korean adoption community?
I think it doesn't hurt for anyone to go and look for the biologicals if they would like to. But again, I waited a long time, and for my reason was the main thing was I didn't want to disappoint my parents, that raised me. I think that would be great if they would like to go forward with that. I know there's a lot of adoptees that refuse to accept that they're Korean because they were raised in such a way that no, I'm the farthest thing from being Korean. So I think when they even look in the mirror, they see a Caucasian person, maybe. Or,
Yeah.
But I would say just everyone go to Korea, or even if that's too far, then come to KoreaTown in LA.
Yeah, absolutely.
And meet those 7 other people.
Got them.
But yeah,
exploring your culture for sure. Even if you don't want to soak it in, if you don't want to eat kimchi, you can still learn about it. Yeah, I mean,
there's always bulgogi to get them.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of really good Korean things to introduce yourself to, especially like soju, right? We've already talked about that.
Yeah, I'm surprised you guys aren't having like a shot right now. I
had some shots last night. So.
Oh my god! Okay.
And I had to do the show today, so.
Yeah. I had to edit an episode where my voice was very tired, and I was like, nope, I gotta be prepared. I was like, I need to drink more water just listening to myself talk. So.
Well, but yeah, Tom, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's amazing stuff that you have done. I know you got busy with your work, but starting and getting into the Korean adoption community with that organization, and then the website, and then just being involved in the community, finding the documentary of Dan Matthews, and going out with the other CAD communities in LA, and living in KoreaTown. I mean, that's also a big
baller.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think I might not have wanted to do back when I was looking at places to live, just because it's so dense. With like you were saying, that's for you. That's a plus, that you like being able to walk out and see everything. Whereas I want to be further away. I'm like looking for urban, houses and like one supermarket and things like that. So, so it's funny. This is fitting your lifestyle, your occupation, and now finding out about your narrative is great. So it's
what I do like
story.
is I got. My apartment complex is right across the street from a Korean bar, and so I can walk across the street to this Korean bar when we didn't have the shutdown, and I could order food. Like they're known for their fried chicken, and get a pint of beer. But it was also where they filmed New Girl, first season of New Girl. So they do a lot of filming. It's called The Prince, and so. And that's just right across the street from me. So in the mood to have a pint, I just head over there. And it's
a Korean bar?
It's a Korean bar.
Interesting.
All right. Get in us.
But it was always nice to have just, and you walk downstairs and it's like almost like in a basement kind of thing. You walk down and there's red velvet everywhere and stuff, but it's been around for years. It's like historical place.
All right. Well, all this food talk is making me hungry. I think we should transition to our snack portion. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Janchi Show. We are here with Tom Bugansky, and we are about to dig into some Korean snacks. KJ just told me what it was, but I'm actually not going to say it, and I'm going to ask him to tell everyone what we're eating today.
Today we are eating ojingo by Orion, which looks like peanut butter balls. Well, peanut balls?
Squid, that's what it says in English on the back. It says peanut ball snacks.
English on the back?
Yeah, at least on mine there is. Mine says peanut ball snack.
Look at this little squid. There's got to be squid in there.
There is squid flavor because I read that online also when I was looking at this. So it It has some crustacean shellfish in it, so hopefully no one's allergic to shrimp or.
Yeah, Tom, are you good with?
Yeah. I'm excited to dig into this.
So you've never had these, huh, Tom?
No, I haven't.
But have you seen them? Or
I walked by them in the aisle, but I never thought of picking them up.
The story going on the back here is
you look at them and they just kind of look like peanuts coming out of a ball with something out of it.
Yeah, okay. Patrick, how about you narrate the story and I'll hold it up to my camera here.
Okay.
Tell us what's happening in the first slide.
So in step 1, we have King Peanut addressing his subjects, having clearly just taken over or won the Peanut Wars, the Great Peanut Wars of 2002. In the second panel, he's actually narrating the story to his subjects who are in awe, which is why their mouths are so agape. He's talking about how peanuts are born from balls and how they crack open, and truly their ancestral homes, which you find out in part 3, they come from the sea because these are actually squid balls. And then 4 was how they won the Great Peanut Wars of 2002 by boiling their enemies, who were also peanuts, squid peanuts.
Wait, they're enemies. You're right. They are on fire down there.
And that's the story of.
They look very happy though. All of them are smiling. The balls are smiling. So I wish we could have live translation of the writing and stuff.
I just nailed it. Yeah, that was flawless 1-to-1 translation.
I meant the rest of it. What's the one?
I don't know why he was. What?
What does that say at the top?
I don't know. Something about flavor, probably.
40th anniversary.
Yeah. Samship. But yeah, 40 years.
They got smiley faces.
전통의 맛. I don't know what 맛. I mean, I assume 맛 is flavor, but I don't know what 정통의 is. Anyways, let's dive in where it says "두눈 컷," which is open, I believe, just because that's what it says.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it the American.
Maybe it says
pulling apart. That's not how you do it.
Oh, this is weird.
Ooh, it's shrimpy.
Wait a minute.
It's shrimpy.
We had a guest on. They said shrimp and squid, or peanut butter and squid, right? Was that Minju?
Yeah,
it might be this. We might be eating this. I'm not.
You can hear the thing in there if you shake it. Mine's loose.
Oh yeah, mine. It's very lightweight.
My earphones, I could hear it through my earphones.
I know. I did the same thing.
It's very lightweight though. I don't know. I'm gonna try it.
All right. Yeah. I don't have a chaser.
I have water.
It tastes more like peanut. I'm tasting more peanut than squid, but there is a hint of shrimp.
I'm too in my head about this.
Yeah, so it's because of the smell, right? Because you smell the shrimp flavor first.
But see, okay, I will say Nongshim shrimp crackers, even though this smell is intense, I don't mind it. I don't know if that's my nostalgia taking over, but this is a weird combo. Oh yeah, there's that ADR, ASMR.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tom, what do you think, man?
I can't taste the shrimp. The peanut's very overpowering.
I don't taste the shrimp either.
I just smell it.
I can smell it. But I don't taste it.
Seafood smell. The crustaceous odor.
I do have to mention that I thought that the little smiley faces on the packaging was just for fun, but it actually has the smiley faces on some of the balls.
See, I was wondering if they were just lines, because this one does not create a face. The lines on this one.
That one's dead. That's why. It's a little X.
Yeah, someone was just like, all right, just paint it, I'll paint on it and put it in the bag.
Maybe you have to get a special one that looks like a smiley face. But you're right, they're not all consistent.
I like the outer shell. It tastes like a kid cereal. Or something like that.
Yeah, it does.
It's not bad.
It does taste like a cereal. Yep.
It's not what I thought it was going to be with the smell.
Here's the inside.
Oh, and the crunch is good. I like the double crunch. There's that crunch on the outside and then the crunch of the peanut.
Yeah.
So it's.
I feel like I'm getting seafoody aftertaste, which is weird to eat peanuts and then breathe out seafoody aftertaste. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if they have other flavors because they did say that this is squid flavor. So I'm not sure if there's like just plain original.
See,
or...
Remember last time when the first box we said Jerry's never steered us wrong? And he was like just leading us down a trail of deception, and then mystery box number 2.
It's gonna have
slowly
the
adding a few items in there.
Whatever it is. We're gonna get that.
This is
one
the
time.
moment. This is wild.
See, this one's just a U. It's just been painted on there. No other markings.
Oh, look, this one just has a single line.
One of the ingredients is sliced cuttlefish.
This guy's kind of mad.
Oh yeah, he was in the fire for too long.
Yeah.
So maybe those lines that are in it is actually cuttlefish.
Cuttlefish.
The smiley face is cuttlefish. So
I think I might be eating this wrong because I can feel the outer ball breaking away from the peanut.
Ooh,
so I really
point.
get that separation of squid and peanut flavor. I keep saying peanut butter like it's the same thing. It's not.
It has the peanut butter flavor though. I wonder if that.
And if you bite half of it, so if you bite half of it, it's very airy on the inside. It actually reminds me of this nut that I used to see on a tree. That it was like this tree nut, and then it would break open, and it had a little seed on the inside, but then it had like little things that connected to it. That's what it reminds me of.
It reminded me of this.
I don't know if that's more or less appetizing than before now, but
yeah, I don't know.
That was hilarious.
Let's jump into ratings. Tom, will you kick us off? How many squids do you give these peanut balls out of 5?
Out of 5, I'm gonna say it's interesting.
Kind words.
I'll give it 3.
Okay.
I'll give it 3.
Any other comments? Anything that would push it one way or the other?
I think if I saw this in the aisle, I'd just keep walking.
Like you have before.
Just
walk right
past it.
Because it doesn't look like anything other than a peanut in a little thing. Yeah, there's not much to it. It's in the ocean.
Yeah. Nathan?
I have to agree. I'm going to be slightly under 3.
Slightly under, like a 2.8?
Yeah, 2.8, 2.9. I'll give it slightly under.
2.476.
I mean, halfway would be 2.5, so it's better than halfway. I don't feel like A, I want to finish the bag. B, I wouldn't crave these either, like where I'd want to eat them all the time. But they're not bad. I can still eat them. I like the peanut. I like the crunch. Mm-hmm. So I guess it just either A, takes some getting used to, like you have to be raised on these where you're like, oh, peanut and shrimp or something like that. But for me, it's
squid balls, as Patrick said.
Squid balls, squid peanut balls. I know. So that I'm going to give it like a little better than a halfway point. So like say 2.8. We'll go with that.
2.8. I'm going to go with Tom. I'm going 3. I think. I think the story was really good. I did a great job narrating it, but what I do has no effect on the product.
Wow.
But
you'll probably be hearing from them marketing.
I'm going to give your story a 4 out of 5.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Oh, yeah.
I will
Good
say
story.
I like the taste is not too bad. It's not but it's not like a memorable taste, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And I agree with Nathan. I don't want to. Well, okay, I probably will eat this whole bag, but I don't necessarily want to eat it.
You'll eat
the whole thing. So
you could give it a 1 and you'd probably finish the bag. Come on.
That is true.
All right, rounding it out, I think I'm going to give it a 2 because I got in my head before I started eating it. And I keep eating them because I have a problem, but it's not improving at all. Like it's not growing on me or anything.
The squid ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. If anything, it's getting worse as I continue to eat it. Like I'm like, my brain is like, what are you eating? You know how like young kids when they have calamari for the first time, they'll eat the rings, but they won't eat the things that look too much like like octopus or whatever. Yeah, I'm like, am I eating one of those like tentacly things? Did they somehow manage to fit one of those inside of this little peanut ball?
I think so. I think that's essentially what that is. Those little tentacles. Little fried tentacles.
That is it.
Wow. Well,
thank you so much for joining us, Tom.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was fantastic having you. If you are watching on YouTube, you can find Tom's full interview with us on our podcast, The Janchi Show, wherever you can get your podcasts. But Tom, if people want to find you in the real world or online, how can people get in touch with you, get connected to your projects and what you're working on, or any of that?
You can always Instagram me at KoreaTown Tom. I don't check it as much, but I do check it. And so you can always, DM me, leave a message. I can always get back to you on that through that.
In the real world, if you have, I don't know if you're even in business doing like giving eyelid surgery to people or what that is, but what about
plastic
that?
surgery?
Real world projects you want to plug or anything?
No, not yet. No, like if they wanted to contact me because they wanted to get some kind of surgery done, I could definitely refer them to multiple good friends of mine that are plastic surgeons.
Perfect. Cool. So if you're in the LA area, give Tom a call and he'll give you some sweet recommendations
for those eyelids.
Great.
Some sweet eyelids.
Great.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
And you can find me, No Walk Photo, online.
I don't know why I forget about this. You can find me at KJ Relke and all the places that I want to be found.
And I am at Patrick in the World on Instagram and myself everywhere else.
And we are the Janchi Show.
At Janchi Show.
Just
we
like
are
media.com. Janchi Show.
We are it.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
It was fun. If you guys like squid and peanut, go get some. Peace out.
Goodbye.
Bye.